The Question of King Milinda. Chapter 11. The Solving of Dilemmas. 4. 31. The Murder of Mukhalana. This was said by the Blessed One. Mukhalana is the chief of those among my disciples who possess supernatural power. Yet he was beaten to death with clubs. Why did his power fail him? That, O King, was because he was then overwhelmed by the greater power of karma. Even among things that are beyond the scope of the imagination, one may be more powerful than the others. Among things that are unimaginable, karma is the most powerful. It is precisely the effect of karma that overcomes and rules the rest, for no other influence is of any avail to the man in whom karma is working out its inevitable result. Just as a man who has been found guilty of a crime will be punished, and there is nothing his relatives may do to prevent it. 32. Secrecy of the Vinaya. It was said by the Blessed One, the Dhamma and Vinaya proclaimed by the Tathagata shine forth when they are displayed, and not when they are unrevealed. So, why is the recitation of the Patimokkha done only in the presence of bhikkhus? And why is the Vinaya Pitaka closed and privy to bhikkhus? O King, the reason for the Patimokkha being open only to bhikkhus is that it is a custom of our previous Buddhas. Secondly, out of respect for the Vinaya. And thirdly, out of respect for the bhikkhus. Just, O King, as the traditions of warriors are handed down among warriors alone, so it is the tradition of the Tathagatas that the recitation of the Patimokkha should take place only among bhikkhus. The Vinaya is venerable and profound. He who has reached proficiency in it may exhort others thus. Let not this profound teaching fall into the hands of those who are unwise, where it would be despised and condemned, treated shamefully, ridiculed, and found fault with. Just as there are priceless possessions of kings that should not be used by men of the world, so too, the training and traditions of the Blessed One for bhikkhus are their priceless possessions. That is why the recitation of the Patimokkha takes place only among bhikkhus. 33. Intentional lying. It has been said by the Blessed One, intentional lying is an offense involving expulsion. Yet, he also said, intentional lying is a light offense that must be confessed to another bhikkhu. How can both of these be right? If a man were to strike another with his hand, what punishment would you give him? If the victim refused to overlook the matter, we would find the assailant. But if a man were to strike you, what punishment would you give him? We would cut off his hands and feet, scalp him, plunder of his wealth, and uproot his family up to the 7th generation. Just so, O King, the offense is light or heavy, according to the subject matter. Intentional lying about the attainment of superhuman states such as the absorptions, supernormal power, or the path of spiritual attainment is an offense involving expulsion. However, intentional lying about other matters is only an offense involving confession. Investigation of the Bodhisatta 34. It was said by the Blessed One in the Discourse on Natural Law, long ago had the Bodhisatta parents, chef disciples, etc., been predestined for the Bodhisatta. Yet it was also said, while still in the two-sita heaven, the Bodhisatta makes as investigation whether the right moment has come for him to be reborn, the continent, the country, the family, the mother, the time in the womb, the month of the birth, and the time of the going forth. If his parents were already predestined, Why was it necessary for him to consider these things? Both these statements, O king, are correct. With respect to 8 things, the future should be investigated before it comes to pass. A merchant should inspect goods before he buys them. An elephant should try a path with his trunk before he treads it. A carter should survey a ford before he crosses it. A pilot should plumb a shore he has not seen before. A physician should assess the remaining lifespan of a patient before treating him. A traveler should inspect a bridge before he walks on it. A bhikkhu should know the time before he starts his meal. And a Bodhisatta should investigate a family before he is born. On suicide 35. It has been said by the Blessed One, a monk should not try to commit suicide, throw himself down from a precipice. However, whoever does so should be dealt with according to the rule. Yet, on the other hand, you say that, on whatever topic he was addressing the monks, he always, and with various similes, exhorted him to bring about the destruction of birth, old age, disease, and death, and whosoever overcame them he honored with high praise. O king, it is because an arahant is of great benefit to beings that he laid down that prohibition. One who has reached the goal is like a boat to carry people over the floods of sensuality. Desire for rebirth, personality, belief, and ignorance. Like a mighty rain cloud, he fills their mind with satisfaction, and he is a guide to those who are lost, out of compassion. For living beings, the Blessed One said, a monk is not to commit suicide. And what is the reason the Blessed One urged us to put an end to birth, old age, and death? Because of the limitless nature of the suffering of the realm of rebirth, the Blessed One, out of compassion for being, urged them in many ways, with various simile, to free themselves from the realm of rebirth. Protection by loving kindness. It has been said by the Blessed One, these 11 advantages may be expected by one who practices and makes a habit of loving kindness towards all beings. He sleeps in peace, he wakes in peace, he dreams no evil dreams. He becomes dear to human beings and to non-human beings. The gods protect him. Neither fire, nor poison, nor weapons can harm him. His mind is quickly concentrated. His countenance is serene. He dies unconfused. And if he attains no higher, he is reborn in the Brahma realm. Why then was the youth Sama, who dwelt full of loving kindness, hit by a poisoned arrow fired by King Pilayak? O king, these 11 virtues of loving kindness are dependent on love itself, and not on the character of the person who practices. Sama practiced the meditation of loving kindness all the time. However, while he was collecting water, his mind lapsed from the meditation, and at that moment King Pilayaka shot him, so the arrow was able to hurt him. 37. Why did Devadatta prosper? Although you say that good deeds lead to rebirth in heaven and fortunate human births, and that evil deeds lead to rebirth instead of misery or unfortunate human births, Devadatta, who was full of evil qualities, was often put in a position of superiority over the Bodhisatta, who was full of good qualities. Thus, Nagasena. When Devadatta became the family chaplain of Brahmadatta, the king of Benares, then the Bodhisatta was a ranged outcast. This is one case in which the Bodhisatta was inferior to Devadatta in birth and reputation. Again, when Devadatta became a king, a mighty monarch of the earth, the Bodhisatta was an elephant. In that case too, the Bodhisatta was inferior to Devadatta, and in many other cases too. It was as you say, O king. Then it follows that good and evil bear equal fruit. Nay, not so, O king. Devadatta was opposed by everybody, but no one was hostile to the Bodhisatta. Yet when he was a king, Devadatta protected and served the people and gave gifts to recluses and Brahmins according to his inclination. Of no one can it be said, O king, that without generosity, self-restraint, observance of precept, and other virtues, he can reach prosperity. Nevertheless, our beings who are swept along in the endless round of rebirths meet with pleasant and unpleasant companions, just as water whirl along in a river meets with pure and impure things. However, the comparison between the Bodhisatta and Devadatta should be regarded in the light of the unimaginable length of the round of rebirths, and it should also be remembered that the Bodhisattva was in heaven for eons, while Devadatta born in hell. 38. The weakness of women. It is said that a woman will always commit adultery if she finds a suitable lover. Yet Mahasodha's wife refused to do any wrong, even though offered 1,000 pieces of gold. Amaradevi was virtuous. Through fear of censure in this world and through the fear of suffering in purgatory, and because she loved her husband, and despite immorality and treasure virtue. For all of these reasons, the opportunity seemed not fit to her. Her husband, Mahasodha, was an ideal man, so she found no other man comparable to him. So for this reason too, she did no wrong. 39. Ânanda courage. It was said by the Blessed One that Arahants have laid aside all fear. Yet when the intoxicated elephant, Tanapalaka, was charging toward the Buddha, 500 Arahants fled, leaving Ânanda alone to protect the Buddha. If Arahants are free from all fear, why did they flee? They did not flee because of fear, O king. The Arahants are free from fear. They already moved aside so Ânanda's devotion to the Buddha would be manifested. They realized that if they didn't move, the elephant would not be able to approach. Ânanda, who was not yet an Arahant, remained by the Buddha's side to protect him, and thus his courage and devotion were displayed. Because of this event, great masses of people were emancipated from the bondage of defilements. It was because they foresaw disadvantages that they moved aside. 40. The Buddha's change of heart. You say that the Buddha is omniscient, yet when the company of monks led by Sariputta and Mukhalana had been dismissed by him, the Sakyans of Katumas and Brahmas, Sahampati, placated the Buddha with similes. Did he then not know these similes? If he did, then why did he need to be placated? The Tathagata, O king, was omniscient, yet he was conciliated by those similes. It was by means of similes that he himself had first preached that he was conciliated, and it was being thus won over that he signified his approval. It was, O king, as when an attendant novice serves his teacher with alms food brought by the teacher himself, and thereby pleases him and wins him over.